All right, we're live. What's up, guys? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Deck Talk Podcast. We have got a killer show that we have been looking forward to for quite a while. And but if you don't know, guys, I am Colin Burnett.
And I'm normally, that's what I call. We have a heck of a show tonight. But first, we got to talk about one of the sponsors for tonight's episode. This episode is brought to you by Proline Baits, family owned and operated. They strive to produce the highest quality scents using the finest quality ingredients to guarantee anglers to catch more fish, whether you're in a boat or fishing from the bank. Now, when you match the hatch, you can also match the scent, covering a wide range of species. Proline Baits produces the highest quality attractants using all natural extracts designed with the most advanced technology and scent capabilities, not only releasing a full and robust scent, but delivering an unmatched taste to any fish. Proline Baits, a new generation of attractants for the avid fisherman to help you catch more fish. See what the stink is about. Go to www.prolinebaits.com. Don't forget, make sure you use that discount code DECKTALK10. Again, that's prolinebaits.com. Use that discount code DECKTALK10. Man, I tell you what, guys, we have one heck of a show lined up for tonight. Me and Colin actually has been excited about this show for quite some time now. But anyway, we're going to get right into it. We got two great guests on board tonight. But anyway, here we go. He has been fishing at the top level of our sport since the early 1980s, but his passion for the outdoors goes above and beyond his accomplishments on the water. He has been a mentor, a teacher, an advocate for the future of our sport, holding countless seminars, fishing trips, children's youth tournaments, and a whole lot more. A man we are honored to call a friend, Mr. Gerry Brousseau. Okay, here we go, guys. Let me take a deep breath for this one. He is a 9-time BASS Angler of the Year. He has 19 BASS tournament wins. He has 102 top 10 finishes and has qualified for the Bassmaster Classic an unprecedented 25 times. In 1986, he was inducted into the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame and has one of the most iconic television shows that has ever hit the airwaves. The man, the myth, the legend, the great American fisherman. Oh, son, it's Roland Martin.
What's up, guys? What is up, man? Thanks for coming on. Y'all doing good?
I'm doing good. Doing good. I'm down here at Naples, Florida with my big fishing buddy, Gerry Brousseau.
That's right, man.
That's that. How did y'all get to start fishing together?
We actually many years ago, I was doing another TV show, and Roland wanted me to come film with him and get into some of these private sand pits I had. So he offered me a couple times. I refused. I didn't really want it. Didn't have the time. Not that I didn't want to fish with him, but I didn't have the time. So finally, after about a year, I said, "All right, let's start doing it." And man, we've been filming together for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Still going strong today, too, right?
Oh yeah. Still both YouTube and TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I holler at you, Jerry, you're saying, I'm going out tomorrow with Roland.
Besides that, it's gotten kind of cool because Roland's also filmed and done TV with Hunter a couple times, my grandson.
Yeah, it's I've seen a few of the episodes that he has done with Hunter, and that's something else too.
Yeah.
It's something that is always going to be able to remember.
Yeah.
You know, he's only 12 years old. He just turned 12, and he's been fishing for 3.5 years with Roland. So he's learned quite a bit at a young age.
Yeah, that is definitely somebody that if you could learn something from, that is a great person to learn from. So
If I have a problem hearing, it's just with the thing so far away, I don't have enough volume. I can't hear real well. Is there a way to turn it up? No.
I think it's all the way up.
Anyway, I spent a lot of time in the military, and one of my jobs in the military was running a rifle range. And so
Ah,
years out, I got regular hearing aids. I don't have them in right now,
Right.
but in the military, I ran a rifle range, and so
ah,
that's
yes,
I can't hear very well.
right, right. So, uh, Roland, how we want to talk about your turkey calls.
Oh yeah.
So, how did you get started in doing that and uh, into making your own turkey calls?
Well, let me tell you what happened was Rob Keck was the president of the Wild Turkey Federation, and he made me a deal about 30, 40 years ago. He said, Roland, come up to Nashville and help judge some of the turkey contests, and I'll get you one of these Neil Cost calls. And so anyway, Neil Cost was the most famous call maker in the world, and he made a big box call like this one. I'll camouflage this one, and this is all kind of special, but I got these ones here that they're kind of like Neil's, and they're the exact replica of the Neil Cost call. And so his bait for me to help at the Nashville Turkey Convention was I come up and help him, and then he'd get me a Neil Cost call. Well, I fell in love with the call because it was working so good. I killed a couple turkeys with it right off the bat. This is like 35 years ago. That I started calling Neil Cost. I'd call him on the phone, and I'd try to make one, and I couldn't make them. I mean, it was terrible. They were just awful. Finally, Neil talked me through how to actually form this out of one piece of butternut and how to take the lid and do all the stuff to it. And it just was a long process. And now I sell them, and I have a register right here. And I have 340 of them sold right now. And I have everybody's name. See all these names? They're
Right,
all the turkey calls. And I have them in order now. And I know they're all registered. These are registered turkey calls, one of 500. I haven't sold
wow,
them yet. It's been only a couple of years, but hey, I'm getting there. Now I'm getting them down where I can make a turkey call, son, and it sounds like a turkey.
Man,
so and that sounds. I mean,
yeah, that sounds
if
really
legit. That's
realistic.
yeah. So does it matter like the wood that you said that it was what birch? Does the wood actually matter? Like you can't use oak or anything like that, right?
I'm sorry, come back again.
Can you? Does the wood that you use does that really matter? Does
Yeah,
it have to?
woods are all important. There's certain woods that are musical and have a vibration to them. Poplar is a good wood. Walnut's a good wood. This butternut that I use is a good wood. There's several good woods,
Right,
but some woods just aren't good. They just don't resonate the sound. They don't vibe.
right, right.
Maple woods. That's all what they make guitars out of. There's certain woods when you dry them and cure them, and this wood is coming from Johnny Morris's farm. I got it 35 years ago. I cut
Wow,
butternut trees.
that's awesome.
His Johnny's college roommate's place, and Ronnie Curry out of Ava, Missouri. I got that going. So anyway, to make a long story short, I had all these woods are old and they're all seasoned, and I've had them for years, years, and years, and that's why they're kind of musical right now.
Right. And it sounds. I mean that if I didn't know any better and didn't see you messing with the box, I would have thought you had a turkey in the house.
Oh yeah.
So let's see. We've got. Let's see. Let's see. My dad said I haven't seen Roland fishing headwaters here of late. He said that's a pretty good drive from Clewiston. Is there a reason for that change? Actually, I did see a post that you done that you're starting to guide here in January back on Headwaters, right?
Right. Yeah. Of course, I've been guiding for 30, 40 years all over the place, and I did a lot of work out of Okeechobee, and Gerry and I have been tournament fishing in Okeechobee for years. I don't know, we've done real well. But Okeechobee's kind of not as good right now as it used to be because of the grass situation. There's not as much grass.
Right.
So I've been going to the new Headwaters Lake. It's a new 10,200-acre lake in near Fellsmere, and Jerry's fishing a couple times. It's a big bass.
Oh, it's huge.
And so right now,
Yeah.
field study. Every day, this guy, Jim Brown from the FWC, the Florida Wildlife deal, he comes in and meets everybody at the lunchroom and asks them how many fish they caught, what they caught them on, what size they are. And right now, Headwaters, every single day that they've done the survey, which is a couple hundred days, it's led the state. Headwaters has led the state every single time they've ever done the survey. Yeah. It's that good. It's the best lake in the state of Florida, and that's right. That's where I do my work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we my dad and my brother and I are actually January 19th and 20th are going to go fish with Stephen Coleman there at Headwaters. And so we're going to film a little bit for him and do some fishing. My brother hasn't caught a bass that's over 4 pounds. So I told him, I said, well, just get ready. I said,
now we do a lot of shiner fishing, and as Jerry can attest, you can catch a lot of fish on plastic baits and top water and stuff like that, but your shiner fish are going to average bigger. They're going to be just a bigger average, and you're going to have bass. You're going to have a lot of bass over 4 pounds on a shiner. That's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, that's a given.
Yeah.
So now I had a couple other questions. Let's see. Another guy's from Off the Hook Jigs wanted to know, Roland, have you ever fished Loch Raven Reservoir?
Well, see, back in when I started my career back when I was in Maryland, up in Maryland, and so it's Loch Raven is one of the Baltimore, Washington water supply lakes, and it's regulated where you can't run a big motor; you can only run an electric motor, and so we'd get a permit to put our boats in there, and we'd run our boats in Loch Raven. There were 5 different lakes that we'd fish. And we set records. Actually, we set all sorts of records in Maryland. Catching citation bass at the time. Field and Stream gave away a citation for bass over 5 pounds, and we had the most. This guy Sullivan and myself and a whole bunch of guys. We had more 5-pound bass than anybody. But anyway, we were fishing with brand new electronics. We were fishing brand new lakes, and we were fishing modern techniques structure techniques that had never been fished before. So that was the key to that, catching those big bass.
Right. Yeah, what's the story about Headwaters as far as how Headwaters got created? It is basically, I know a little bit of the backstory, living down in Florida all my life, but I don't know the whole backstory of it. I know it's flooded farmland that's extended out from the stick marsh, but what's a little bit of the backstory about how it got created?
Well, see, this whole area is called the St. Johns River Marsh. It's the upper end of the St. Johns River. And about 30 years ago, they built the first impounded area. It was a diked up farm area, and it was called the Stick Marsh, and that was full of trees. And there's still a bunch of stumps there now, but it's 30 years old. Right now, then they built Kenansville, and then they built Three Forks, and they built
Farm 13.
Farm 13. And then they came in about 10 years ago and diked up this deal just to the east of the famous Stick Marsh. Right. It's a brand new lake. It's 10,200 acres. It's all full of hydrilla islands and stuff. And what they did, they turned it over to the FWC, and they came in with a couple $1 million in a couple of years, and they dug trenches and dug holes and built islands and planted trees, and it's a labyrinth of good fishing. I tell you what, you could have 100 boats in the parking lot. 100 boats can be there. And I'll go fishing for a day. And Jerry, you've been with me. When there's 100 boats in the parking lot, we get out there and we won't even see a boat.
Nope.
Yeah.
So I mean, that fish is big. Fish is huge.
Yeah, it does. Jerry, we another one from Shannon Gleason says, "Hey Jerry, this is Shannon. How has the stick marsh bounced back from the drawdown?"
Stick marsh is doing really, really well actually. The water level's back up. You know, a lot of people don't know that they went in there and they planted a bunch of new eelgrass, and hopefully they keep spray boats off there so they don't kill stuff. You know, spray's a big issue down here, and you know, for those of you that are not in the Florida area, and but stick marsh has been fishing very, very well. Matter of fact, Roland's been in there quite a bit
Yeah,
also.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah. We live in the Chattanooga area, so we got Gunnersville and mainly Chickamauga right here in our back door,
Really?
and but that's the problem that we have a lot too is that. TVA will spray the main channels, but then we got back in the sloughs where you have like private or like people that live on the back in the sloughs. They will pay a private company to come out and spray in the sloughs. So I mean, it's just one of them things that once it gets started, I mean, it's you just might as well just kiss the
Money
grass goodbye.
gets donated to the state budget, and then they can't stop it. They pass all this legislation to have this budget. I walked into the head guy office one time, this guy Baron Moody, and he was spraying. And I said, "Why do you keep spraying?" Because Hurricane Irma had knocked out 70% of all the grass. He said, "Well,
Wow.
keep spraying even with the hurricane damage because we'd lose our allocated budget. They had a couple of $1 million worth of budget. They had to spray anyhow, and they sprayed the few weeds that were remaining after the hurricane. They really messed it. And
Yeah,
that's
they get so much.
how to maintain.
Yeah, they get so much millions of dollars a year, and if they don't use it in that fiscal year, they lose it going into the next year. So
Right.
that's why they want to make sure to use it up, whether it needs it or not, which kind of sucks.
Big and allocated budget needs to be cut
Yeah,
back and not spray as much.
You know, originally the spraying on Okeechobee, just as Colin said, like your lake up there was just a navigational channels to bring you either to the Port St. Lucie or the Caloosahatchee. And somewhere along the way, somebody banged their head and got confused, and now they spray the whole damn lake.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
And that
I remember back in the day with Lake Okeechobee, and Jerry and Roland will definitely be able to attest to this. Where, I mean, just for example, like the monkey box, man, you go back in the monkey box and the crystal clear water and the nice hydrilla pockets and isolated hydrilla, the topped out hydrilla, and the big fish were just plentiful every day. I mean, it was like unreal, the fishing, and it just kind of with the spraying's just all gone away. Once that hydrilla left, the water got dirty, it got muddy, and it's just not near what it used to be back in the day.
you know, it's not just the bass fishing. I mean, it's affecting all the wildlife from
Yeah,
the turtles to the alligators to all the birds. I mean,
birds.
How
we've
many
essentially,
the ducks are down.
we've essentially lost like 80% of our vegetation in that one lake.
Yeah.
wow. Now, when y'all are pre-fishing a lake, how do y'all go about? Because like being from Tennessee and stuff, and then going down to Florida and fishing, everything down in Florida looks like it should hold an 8 to 10 pounder on it. So, how do y'all go about like going and breaking down like a Florida lake to where you when you go into the tournament you're dialed in on
Yeah.
it?
If you were from out of state, just for example, and you didn't fish Okeechobee or you didn't fish them lakes as much as you do living there, if you were to go in as a pro angler to practice on, just for example, Okeechobee, how would you guys break it down? Because everything looks so good to somebody that doesn't fish it all the time.
What you got to do essentially is get on that body of water and you pick an area like the Monkey Box or maybe the West Wall or down south. And there's so many different types of vegetation. And what I tell people, a lot of times if you catch a fish in a certain vegetation, I think Roland will agree, they tend to be in that type of vegetation, the majority of them.
Right.
See, we're a pattern fisherman, and I wrote a book. I don't know if my book right here, but 101 bass catching patterns. About 50 of them work here in Florida. So it's just a matter of elimination. You have to try topwater, you have to try worms, you have to try swim baits, you have to try chatterbaits. I mean, it's not an easy thing. Finding fish and finding the pattern is the same difficult situation in Chattanooga as it is in Florida. You got to
Yeah.
get out a dozen different things before you come up with the right combination.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in Florida too, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost as good to eliminate water as it is to find productive body or productive areas
Exactly.
because there's so much down there that basically everything looks identical.
Well, with 80% of the vegetation missing, that's pretty easy to eliminate a lot of water.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, I've been to these meetings in front of the commission for FWC, and I told them that they've made history because they've wiped out so much vegetation by spraying. If they stopped today, I would not live long enough to see Okeechobee back to what it was 10 years ago.
Well, it's
Yeah.
a renewable resource. It can come back.
But not in my lifetime. I mean, it
Well,
damaged too
it's going
much.
to take a while. It's going to take a while.
Mm.
And, with the proper management, yes, we can bring Okeechobee back. But like Gerry
Right.
says, how much time do we have?
Exactly.
Right.
But now,
Well,
so, you were talking about the headwaters and you were talking about Farm 13. Just last week, we had an interesting situation. I was over there, in fact, with Tom Jackson, one of your buddies that you were mentioning, and they had moving water. And boy, what a pack that is. I'm telling you, when you
oh yeah,
Florida, you were talking about how do you find fish in Florida? When you find moving water, like
that's it.
we did that last week, oh heavens, son, it's bass after bass every calf.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking about that, Roland, talking about, and Tom's a good buddy of mine as well. I've known Tom for a long, long time. Talk a little bit about that video. I actually watched the video the other day that got released on YouTube. I don't know when it got released, but I think it was pretty recently. But man, that looked like an insane day. And then Tom did something a little bit unique there. You guys took a break, and
Listen,
I think Roland has it on his phone there. But
yeah,
Tom just wrote a new single, and it is
the phone
I mean,
got-
it's an impressive song. I love the song.
you want
Yeah,
me to push it
Yeah.
down?
go ahead.
Yeah.
Now, okay, like listen
It's
to
Mr.
it.
Tom Jackson, guys.
Look, wait a minute, here it is right here.
Bring it down on the left side.
Can you hear it?
All my buddies having posting pics on Facebook showing off them big old fish. I'm stuck at work but about to quit. It's driving me insane. On a dock or a back of a boat.
I think we lost it.
I think it's because of the audio on the phone.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah. Well, it's fading in and out on with the phone. We can hear y'all fine.
You know what it is? It's because it's music. It's going to do that on the microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you're
But
right.
but anyway, shout out to Tom, man. That is an insane song. Well done, well done, man, on the writing of that song. Very impressive. I can't wait to see the video that's going to come out with that song. But anyway, talk a little bit about that trip, man. Roland, you guys had a great day. I mean, I could just see the excitement on both of y'all's faces during that filming of that video.
Well, actually, we fished that morning. This was a week ago, and this was just a couple of days before Christmas. They had pumped the water was pumping in from Garcia, which is part of the St. John's River system marsh as well. There's 7 lakes all involved, and so the water was pumping in from Garcia through a spillway into Farm 13. And so Tom and I got down by the cable where it comes in, and he caught about a 5 or 6 or 7 pounder on a crankbait. I caught a couple that size on plastic worms on actually Carolina rigs. They were biting really good. They didn't bite topwater. Sometimes when it's a little warmer, they bite topwater like that. And we've
Wow.
caught days where we catch 100 bass in a day. 30 or 40 of them will be on topwater, and some of them are 6, 7, 8 pounds. But then that after what happened with Tom, I said, okay, Tom, I got plenty of shiners, and I catch my own shiners. I get my own cast net. Let's go over to headwaters. We'll go to the north end where they're spawning. We'll go into some hydrilla flats and kind of drift the shiners around, and maybe we'll catch some fish. Well, we drifted just a little ways. Bam, we caught a big old 5 or 6 pounder. We put the anchor down, another film that you haven't seen. This is with Tom Jackson that afternoon. And boy, we caught them even better than we did that morning. And we caught 7-pounders that morning, 8-pounders, and we that afternoon we did even better. So that's
Wow.
at headwaters as well. You find spawning fish, you find bass all in the hydrilla flats, and you find them on chinders.
Man, that's insane. That's fun times right there.
Yeah. We got a question from John Pate. It's a two-part question. Um, First question is for both of y'all. What is y'all's favorite lake to fish?
Ew.
Favorite lake we've been talking about.
Yeah, what's your favorite lake?
Well, every year it changes, but right now it's headwaters. Yeah, every lake. And it used to be Okeechobee. It used to be Okeechobee.
I would say for me that Headwaters is one of them. But if you're asking me about a public lake, but I have a lot of access to private lakes that I have keys to or combinations that aren't people aren't allowed to fish, and I can go in there and like I was just in one not long ago. I got 3 over 8 that day, and I think we had 97 fish. But I
Wow.
spent a lot of time in these little line pits.
Wow.
Hey, let's eliminate South Florida lakes for Roland. And when you were fishing on tour, what was your favorite lake? Not counting any South Florida lakes to go to.
But I did it extremely well also up in Lake Champlain. I love that lake a lot.
Me
And
too.
also I won a couple big tournaments on the Hudson River.
Right.
Right.
And I won a tournament on the Chattahoochee River. I've won tournaments on the lower lake, which is Seminole, the middle lake, which is I don't know what then there's a I forget the name of the middle lake, and then there's a Lanier. I've won Lake
Murray's one.
Well, no, it wasn't Murray.
One of Murray.
One of mine. Chattahoochee's really big deal.
Now how about
So I mean, so the
You
whole
follow her in Alabama or you follow her in Oklahoma?
in Alabama. So
Alabama.
I've all the 4 lakes on the Chattahoochee I've won tournament.
Yeah. Now how about Santee Cooper?
How about Santa Cooper? He wants to know.
Oh well, Santee is where I learned my ABCs of bass fishing. That's where military, and that's where the colonel saved me from when I was during the Vietnam crisis. I take the colonel fishing all the time, and he kept me out of Vietnam. He had me running a rifle range.
Now Santee Cooper used to be your home lake before you moved to Florida, right, Roland? Was it Santee Cooper?
Yeah, Santee Cooper was my where I cut my teeth, and that's where I caught all my first, I guess, the first 50 10-pound bass I caught.
Yeah, I was watching the video that Scott done one time. I think it was on his challenge on his television show, and he was talking about. I think they were on Santee Cooper, and he was talking about that's kind of where you cut your teeth, and I think you might have won your first professional event, if I'm not mistaken, on Santee Cooper as well. I might be wrong.
Where did you win your first professional event?
Oh, it was Seminole.
Oh, Seminole. Okay.
And I did win Santee as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lakes outside the state of Florida is all the way up in New Hampshire, a lake called Winnipesaukee.
I'll fish that too.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Ray Scott and I used to get together for a week every year when he was alive, and we'd fish that. And you could literally have a 200 to 250 fish day there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good small.
That's insane.
Yeah. The second part of John Pate's question is for both of y'all. When was the first time you knew you were going to be a pro fisherman?
Well, when you win a big tournament, like winning Seminole in 1970, plus I'd been a guide for 5 or 6 years at that point, so I knew then that I was destined to become a professional fisherman because I'd been guiding for 5 years, and then I start winning tournaments. I mean, what else is there? I mean, that's doing the job.
That is. Now, we want to talk a little bit because we know both of y'all are like very heavily into like advocates for like the kids coming up through high school and collegiate. Now, when they get out of college and stuff, so they're having to find sponsors. Is there any kind of tips and stuff that y'all could give to those anglers to kind of help target some sponsorship?
Here's the problem that most people have in the outdoor business. They think that just by winning a tournament that they can get all the sponsors in the world. I'm putting my hearing aids in, so it'll help. And so that's really not the case. The case is, I don't care how good a fisherman are. There's a whole bunch of guys on the tour right now that win tournaments, but they don't do the public relations. They don't
Right,
stand people at the big ICAST show, and they don't go to the dealerships, and they don't promote the product. That's what they have to do. But to get a sponsor, you have to convince that sponsor, whether it be a automobile company or a boat company or that you can get up in front of 100 people and hold that product up and talk about it and have them buy it. If you can't do that, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get a job.
right,
You have to be able to promote the products that they have, and you can't
right.
do it. You're out of luck.
I don't want to really spend much time on the kids part, not because it's not important, but I know I have scheduled the time in March where I'm going to have Hunter on with you guys, and I'm really going to discuss it there. But I will say, I run seminars for kids, and I tell them about sponsors, how to get them, how to maintain them, and the things they need to do. And you know, a lot of the kids, they forget to say the thank yous, they forget to send pictures, they forget to send, you know, articles that was written on them because they won a tournament. So they once they have the product, they kind of forget about that sponsor, and you can't do that. So I try and instill that in the kids. That you not only do you have to get them in the first place, but you've got to maintain them. And we'll discuss that more in March. Now, I personally sponsor 6 kids in the state of Florida where I pay for their shirts, tournament shirts. I pay for all their entry fees, and I've taken them under my wing. And matter of fact, in a few weeks, we have an event where we're going to bring one FWC guy with us and one Sebring police officer with us, and they're going to have a little competition. And my 6 kids will be their partners.
That's awesome.
That'll be good. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
Um,
we've already done that with FWC and the Highlands County Sheriff's Department, and the FWC squeaked out a win.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit, if y'all don't mind. One of the biggest things that's going on since the off season or the last couple of tournaments for, especially like for the BASS and stuff. What is y'all's opinion on the forward facing sonar?
It's just a new thing, and it ought to be exposed. It's great. It's great for the industry. I know it opens up the door to thousands of new guys that can kind of compete on a different level. I'm a power
Right.
fisher. Basically, Jerry's a power fisher. We've had to learn how not to become just totally a power fisherman. We have to learn some finesse stuff along the way, and we have to learn the forward-facing sonar along the way to be competitive because it takes a combination. Now, you take guys like Jacob Wheeler, who I fish with quite a bit. I fish with him all over the country, 10 different places in Mexico and everything. And Jacob Wheeler is a great electronics guy with the forward-facing sonar. He's also a great caster. He's just deadly accurate. He's
Right.
also a power fisherman. He can flip and pitch. So it's a combination of all of that. You just can't be just one-sided. You have to kind of be versatile.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I think that a lot of the anglers and stuff that's coming up and the kids that they just want to focus in on either the forward facing sonar. They're not really wanting to go out and beat the banks and stuff like how we had to when we were growing up and stuff is because that's all we knew. We just thought that the bass were right there at the bank.
Exactly. And you recall when we were younger, we didn't have the GPS, so we triangulated everything on the lake. You know, line up with that tree and that house and that house and that boat dock. And you know, GPS came out. That changed the industry also. And I think forward facing sonar, the problem with the people uh, not wanting tournaments to use it is number one, for a lot of people, it's a big expense. I mean,
Yeah.
8 boats. You got 8 or 9 boats. We're about even, aren't we?
Yeah, but
Three of my boats have over $25,000 of electronics in it, and
Right.
people go out and get that stuff. Thank God for the sponsors that they provided it for us. But I mean, it's something that's here. I think it's going to stay. I really can't see them banning it, but you know. But man, it's opened up a lot of people's eyes, and I'll tell you one of the things that a lot of people don't know is when the active target number 2 came out, everybody was removing active target number 1 off the trolling motor or their stick in the front, and they were putting the 2 on, and then they turned around and they sold the AT1 at a cheap price. What they should have done is like the pros are doing. They take that AT1 and they put it on the transom, so when they're idling around during practice going over brush piles, they can sit back there and see what's on the brush piles.
Wow.
A lot of people know they're doing that.
Yeah.
I
Nah.
boats have 3 or 4 active target or Panoptics transducers on the boat.
Right. Yeah, and I heard I was listening to the Mercer podcast and he was talking about oh shoot, was it Taku that he has like eight different transducers on his boat.
You
And
got
so
it. You hit the nail right on the head. Right guy, right equipment. You're right.
that's all $50,000 worth of.
Yeah.
And
right.
sponsors do that for us, but it's opened my eyes up to a lot of things, and people can go back and look at Roland's YouTube, and Roland stepped foot in one of my boats. We did a YouTube. I had the forward facing before he did, and I called it out. I said, "There's one over there. It's like 3-4 pounds, 25 feet out. And you see him fire over with a spinner bait, and he catches a 4-pounder. If you look at the table, 30 feet in front of us is another one, 3-4 pounds. He fires out and I said, "Oh, it's coming." And bang, he nailed it, another 4-pounder.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just
Well,
one of them. It's just one of them things that it's just you kind of have to adapt to the technology and to where the sport's going. I mean, if you don't adapt to what we got now, you're just not going to compete with the younger guys that kind of grew up in that era. I mean, myself and you guys, we didn't grow up in that era, and I'm still real green when it comes to the electronic end of it, kind of knowing what I'm talking about, knowing what I'm looking at, how to work it even. But it's just one of them things. If you don't adapt to the advances in technology, especially if you're a competitive angler and fishing tournaments, you're just not going to compete. You have to stay versatile with everything because there's certain lakes you're going to go to where you're just not going to use them, and there's certain lakes that if you don't have them, don't know how to use them, you're just not going to compete.
I can load up my boat with 120 shiners, and I can have Jacob Wheeler and about 10 of the other guys with Forward Facing Sonar right there around me, and I'm going to beat their socks off. In other words, the point is, the shiner fishing is another way of just getting a lot of fish. And that's
Yeah.
right.
the whole game in itself, That, so,
Right.
so Forward Facing Sonar is the whole deal. It's part of it, and it's not the most fun. I think the most fun I enjoy, well, even sight fishing for bass when they're on the spawn beds. That's a lot of fun. Or
Yeah.
just in bushes and watching your line jump when the big old bass hits a jig. That's fun. Or fishing really a frog in the lily pads. How can you have more fun than the visual of a 5 or 6 pound bass sucking a big frog out of the milfoil at Kentucky Lake or heading
Right.
or out there on the west coast in Clear Lake?
Or
I mean, that
when you're
fishing is phenomenal.
or when you're flipping Lake Estepoga, Lake Okeechobee, one of those big, largemouth lakes where you're pitching big baits, pitching big jigs, and you flip into that bushel of buggy whips, and as soon as your bait hits the water, and before it even starts going down, you just see about 4 yards of buggy whips.
Yeah,
Your adrenaline starts pumping before you even know the fish is on there.
Yeah. Fish Brain Shane says that he loves his live scope. It saves time, gas, and etc. So, which I mean, that's true. Um, but Norman and I were talking because people were saying that it's just boring to watch just to see the back of the jersey and they're just looking down. And so we brought up if, let's just say, for instance, Bass was to have like their unit showing up on the TV, kind of like what they done at the Classic last year. But I can kind of see where the anglers may not want that, because then, I mean, yeah, they're talking about it, but when you're actually able to see what they're doing with that bait, because I mean, now you're being able to see what they're throwing at, what they're throwing, and how they're working it. So I can kind of see where the anglers might not would want to have that option on the television for the viewers. What do you think on that aspect?
Let me kind of approach that subject a little bit because I'm going to go from a whole different angle that you don't know about. Right now, I have a whole bunch of baits that I have non disclosures on. They're not released, they're not for sale, they're prototypes. And the elites get the same kind of deal, but they
Right,
get probably 10 times more than I get. And they really can't show those. And if you think back, couple of them tournaments, the one of the Japanese guys, I don't remember which one, was under a little metal platform, and every time the camera zoomed in on him, he grabbed his bait and hit it in his hand. That was a case of one of them baits that you can't show. One of
right,
my boats has some electronics attachments on it that I have non-disclosures on, and I can't talk about it. And when I have to go to like a boat dealer, I need to put towels over it, take duct tape, and wrap it so nobody even sees what's in the boat. So we get,
right,
but the sponsors give us a lot of stuff that we can't show. And the elite guys, you can't ask them to put that down, and not fish with it because the camera wants to get right on top of him.
Okay,
right,
that's all fine and dandy. Be a secret. That's not going to get you as a professional fisherman. That's not going to get you to the top. You're going to
right,
have to divulge your information. Gerry knows a lot about power fishing. I know a lot about fishing. Unless I tell you, the audience, how to do it, hey, we're not going to make it in the outdoor business. So the
right,
outdoor business has to be transparent. We
right,
outdoor has to be, you have to tell people about things. You can't hold secrets. Secrets are just a no-no if you're trying to get ahead in the outdoor business. You have to divulge your secrets. I'm telling you,
right.
my secret of success is I'm divulging the secrets that I've learned in the 70 years that I've bass fished. I divulge secrets.
Yeah. And that's true. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Both of y'all did, and in which just the normal fishermen they don't think about that, because they don't have that opportunity to get the prototypes, and they're most viewers are wanting to try to learn from like the pros, like with and watching like Roland's YouTube and watching his television shows and stuff. They're wanting to try to pick up as much stuff as possible. But just like what you said, Roland, I mean, you got to divulge your secrets and stuff to um, but that's things that the normal viewers don't really think about. All they think about is I want to get that bait at my local bait shop, or I'll go to Bass Pro and pick it up.
Here's the whole deal. You take somebody like Jimmy Houston, who's a good friend of mine, and he'll tell you exactly what he's doing. He'll show you a spinnerbait, how he throws it on the bank. There's not 1% of the people that watch him can understand how accurate Jimmy is and how good of a caster he is and
Yeah,
how well he reads the water. All that, you're telling them the secret. You're divulging the secret. You're showing them the pattern. You're showing them the lure. But that's not getting the job done. The
mm,
job is making that pinpoint cast, is being finding out and deciding the exact spot to throw.
The right
It's,
right,
rod. The right,
so there's a lot more to it than just divulging the secret. You can divulge the
right.
secret, then you have to have the physical ability.
when I do,
Exactly.
you guys maybe haven't thought of this either, but you'll agree with me when I'm done saying it. When I do these seminars, because I do a lot of seminars, I'm asked to go speak a lot of places. The first thing I tell those people is I can't teach them a thing. And the truth of the matter is, I'm not a teacher. I can show you what I do, I can explain to you what I do, but you're going to teach yourself with time on the water. You're going to take what I gave you for tools, because I'm not teaching, I'm giving you tools, and you're going to put them to work, and you're going to find out exactly what I mean. But I'm
Exactly.
not a teacher of this.
Right. Well, the main thing that you said right there is time on water. A lot of people think that they can watch y'all's YouTube channels and watch y'all on TV, and they should be the next Roland Martin. And when they're only going out as a weekend angler.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. You know, I've gone into tournaments after pre-fishing 7 days, and I'm on fish. And the day of the tournament, I head to the first spot, nothing. Second spot, nothing. You know, and I crash and burn, and I crash and burn just like every person watching your podcast right
Right.
now. You know, we have terrible tournaments. We sometimes have good tournaments. You know, it's all in what you put into it, and a lot of it's in your head. You got to think positive.
Right. So let's see. Let's I got I know, and this is kind of off that we didn't really talk about, but I think that it is important to both of y'all, is y'all's family and the support and stuff that y'all get from y'all's family, which we know when we talk to Gerry, like how, especially like how he is with Hunter, and when he's talking about Hunter, just how he lights up. So Roland, how important is it to you, like with having, like, to being able to fish with multiple generations of your family?
Well, that's a big part of it. My son Scott, of course, is every bit a good a fisherman, if not better a fisherman than I am right now. He's on the pro tour and he's won millions of dollars. And his daughter Hillary, she's just now started the University of Alabama. She's on the fish.
Right.
She's a freshman at Alabama, and so go time, roll time.
They
Anyway,
lost. Yeah, they lost.
they just barely lost the game. It
Yeah.
wasn't overtime. So anyway, so she's quite an inspiration to watch her, and I've filmed with her a lot. And I tell you, what's so cool, her enthusiasm. She,
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. And
she can just want to go fishing. She just has. She has the best enthusiasm of anybody I've ever met, and that's part of the whole deal.
Yeah.
right. And so we kind of, because at the classic, we we were able to talk to Scott, and to be able to kind of do like a little interview with him, and that was one of the questions that we asked him. And as soon as I asked the question about the family and being able to fish with you and being able to fish with Hillary and the kids and stuff, that, I mean, his face just lit up. And when I was just thinking about that, and I was like, I imagine that, I mean, that had to come from, it had to come up from his growing up and being able to fish with you. And he talked about that with our last question that we asked. He talked about wanting to fish with his grandfather. If he could fish with somebody for one day in the boat, that he would want to be able to have his grandfather in the boat with him.
You know, the important thing of what we do, because we travel so much, I mean, Roland and I have been at Chickamauga. I'll give you an example. Roland and I had a BASS tournament at Chickamauga. Then we had a week off. Then we practiced for an FLW. So we left our boats and trucks there. I jumped on an airplane, flew back to Florida, spent time with the family, and then I went back to fish the next tournament. Roland, I think you went to Missouri. You went hunting someplace.
I think so.
You left your boat there. But the biggest thing that we don't like and people don't think about is all of the missed weddings, birthdays, anniversaries. You know, that stuff
Yeah.
happens after a while.
Yeah, because, and people don't, just like what you're saying, Gerry. People don't realize that they think that just in during the season, fishing season, that y'all are on the road, but y'all are actually drive just as much as what an over the road trucker drives, because during the off season you got to go do events, you got to go do sponsorship stuff, and that y'all are constantly all year round, that y'all are constantly going and coming, and that people really just don't realize how much travel that it is
About
during
40
the
miles a year.
so
Absolutely.
Let's see. Norman, you wanna? I got a couple questions I'm gonna go through real quick. You got?
Yeah, you know, I think it was only a few, 4, maybe 5 years back, maybe 6 years now. Time kind of flies, but you kind of came out of retirement, Roland, to actually have an opportunity to actually fish on tour with Scott. I don't know how many, it might have been 6, maybe 7 years ago now. I can't remember the exact year, but you actually came out of retirement to fish on tour with Scott for a year
It's
or
another
two.
category. They started this thing with Bass Angler Sportsman Society, where they took these top people like myself that had a lot of titles and a lot of wins, and so they'd offer an opportunity to come back on the tour with the Legends category. Well, I fit into that for several years there, and that was fine and dandy. I went to Bass Pro before COVID, and Bass Pro was wanting to sponsor me on the tour, but this was before Scott, my son Scott, had qualified to fish the elite. So I didn't see the necessity. I said, well, if Scott's going to qualify to fish the elite, then maybe I'll come back again. Well, I went back to Bass Pro after COVID,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden the budget requirements
Wasn't
are all
there.
different,
Wasn't
and then
there.
all of a sudden
Yeah.
things can't. It just
Yeah,
didn't get together. And I'm not going to put $50,000 on the line. That's what it costs in
Right.
just fee money, and another 50,000 to just travel. That's $100,000. I need help, and
yeah.
Right.
I that my own. My son said, Scott said, Dad, let's just come and fish together with me on the elite. You've qualified. You're in the legend. I said, Scott, I'm not going to take $100,000 out of my pocket just to go fish with you. I mean,
Yeah.
I do that and make $100,000 guiding, for example. You know,
Right.
No, but this is what I'm talking about. The Roland is this is back in the old FLW days before the switchover with MLF happened and FLW kind of went away. But didn't you come out of retirement? I think for 1 or 2 years
oh,
and
yeah,
fish on tour with Scott FLW.
the first time I came back because I came back and did good and yeah, stuff like that.
He's going way back there, ain't
Yeah,
he?
Yeah, I guess it's more than 7 years. I was thinking 7 years, but I guess I'm a little off on my timing. It might have been more than
No,
that. But yeah, I can remember when you kind of came
remember
out to fish with Scott for a year.
maybe what you're thinking of is I told Roland I drug him out of his retirement fishing the. We went and fished the Bass Opens and we went and fished the Costa Series,
yeah.
Right.
and I think his wife is still mad at me about that. That was a good. So I stayed away from his house for a while in case she wanted to throw rocks or something at me.
Yeah, right.
But him and I room together, and I'll tell you, he's an animal. He gets on the water first thing at first light. He doesn't come off that water until it's getting dark.
Yeah.
So at his age, he still has it in him.
Wow,
Now,
man.
um,
I love it.
we want to roll and talk a little bit about tarpon fishing, um, and because that's one of your passions as well, is the catching some tarpon. That's
Yeah.
um, so what kind of drove you to going to just catching, wanting to go catch some tarpon?
Well, here in Florida, there's tarpon all in the Keys and all at Boca Grande Pass, and so I I met guys like Ted Williams, the baseball player, years ago down in the Keys, and I got involved with tarpon fishing like 40 years ago. Well, that's fine and dandy. I was trying to do film work at the same time, and I had my name as a bass fisherman, so I go catch all these tarpon, and I've fished tarpon tournaments, and I'm quite good at tarpon fishing, and I've won tournaments in tarpon. I've caught all kind of tarpon, but I don't get any credit for it because people expect me to catch bass, and so as far as the social media goes, as far as the YouTube channels go, as far as the television show goes, I can catch a 100-pound tarpon and get very little response compared to catching a 7-pound bass with Jerry. Jerry and I,
Right.
7-pound bass, we'll get 4 times the play that we will catching a big old tarpon.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I've kind of laid off, even though it's a personal passion of mine, and I'll go out on my own and catch tarpon just because it's a challenge. It's hard to do, particularly with a fly rod. and I love it fly rod fishing. That's a very challenging thing. I don't like to film it a whole lot. I don't like to really talk about it a whole lot because people don't appreciate it.
Right.
They want that. Want that.
The real ironic thing about Roland and I paired up and everything for tournaments, and we've been friends a long time. I mean, we live 10 minutes apart. Colin, I did hear you say Clewiston. He lives in Naples. That's where we
Oh, okay.
we only live like 10 minutes apart. But the funny thing is in sponsors, we almost have no common sponsors. We fish totally different. He likes big easies, little easies, chatterbaits. I love to flip and
He's a
punch and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because with all the knowledge that we have, we'll still have a bad day when we're paired up together. And I'm going to give you two real quick stories. One of them, he joined me in a tournament. We got there, and the guy goes, "Oh my God, Gerry brought Roland with him. Now we're dead." So the guy said, "Go." We went fishing. We come in. We won it. We had big fish. I think it was 8-10. And the guy running the tournament brought the money over, and he goes, "Man," he said, "Roland, you taught him some things." And Roland, honest, he told that guy, he says, "Let me tell you something. When you said go this morning, you called our number. Gerry went to a spot, and he won this tournament in 20 minutes." He said, "One of them fish in that live well belongs to me. Gerry caught them all." And Roland caught everyone in 20 minutes. Now we've been on Okeechobee flipping and pitching, and I'm behind him. And man, he just cleaned my clock. And I tell people, dude, I didn't do it. He did it. So it's really how that's something you can move us in the boat. But I'll tell you, have some fun. If you caught the video where I had Roland's bait cast because I reeled with my left, he reels with his right. I had him
Right.
upside
Upside down.
I started throwing rods in the lake.
Yeah. Well, I seen that commercial video you guys done together on the floating rod butts.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where you just started chunking rods
Yeah.
overboard, throwing a little temper tantrum, and it actually was a commercial you guys were shooting for the rod butts that you used. That was kind of an insane commercial. I love that. I love that commercial. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was really cool. We had fun doing that.
Yeah.
Well, we got Michael Lindell says, bottom line, Mike is still waiting on Roland to make me a couple of homemade Lake K buzz baits.
I've never made a buzz bait.
Lake K?
I'm not. I don't make buzz baits. No, that's not
Wow.
me. I don't make buzz baits.
That one doesn't ring a bell with me either. Come on,
Uh,
come on, Mike. All you use the big nasty, man. Come on.
Bottom line must have been doing this a little bit too much tonight.
Yeah.
I mean,
uh,
it could be something we forgot, but
Well, I use all the good buzz baits. I mean, all the good not buzz baits. We're talking about chatter baits. We used to talk about buzz baits.
Buzzbait, yeah, buzzbait.
Yeah.
All right, got for questions.
so let's see. He says Keenanville Lake. I guess Lake Keenanville.
Yeah.
I guess that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But so do y'all do it like when y'all go out, and do y'all just go out and just do like fishing, or do you go, Gerry, out with Roland when he goes turkey hunting and deer hunting and stuff? It looks like he's got an elk behind him.
Yeah. When he does his hunting, you're gonna laugh at this too. We had a big swamp buggy, and I was on 24,000 acres of land, and I'd bring him out on the swamp buggy. I'd drop him off the turkey hunt, and I had a couple ponds I stocked, so I go fish while he's turkey. He loves turkey hunting. I'd rather be bass fishing.
I'll be right there by your side, Gerry.
Yeah.
I'm going to go deer hunting next week with Tom Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a blast.
Last week of the Georgia.
That'll be fun.
That lake that you brought up, Kenansville. I don't know who mentioned it, but
Michael Lindell.
Okay, that lake used to be phenomenal, and they just keep pounding it with the spraying, and they're knocking back in that lake too. And water's looking terrible, and you know it's hit or miss. You go up there and everything's dead.
Right. Now, we had Norman and I were talking, and excuse me, and it might have been, and correct me if I'm wrong, Norman, it might have been one of our podcasts that somebody said that on Okeechobee that somebody caught a tarpon on Okeechobee.
Oh,
Is
of course.
That was actually me. One of my good guide buddies on Okeechobee had a client out in Harney Pond and actually caught about a 6 foot tarpon.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
also stripers in there
Yeah.
now. They talk to them. You know
well,
about
there's
that?
Yeah, if
there's
you go up to the spillway on the Kissimmee River, the first spillway on the Okeechobee side, about 2 years ago, they had a huge run of striper up when they pushed water through the spillway, and you could just go chunk spoons all day long, and crankbait,
actually there's kind of
striper just tear it up.
cross between a
Hybrid.
white bass.
It's a
It's a white
hybrid.
bass and a striper.
The
Well, you
hybrid was a
yeah.
hybrid.
Scott got on one day. What did he catch? Like 60, 70 of them?
We've got a lot.
He caught a bunch one day. Scott got on real good.
Yeah, but what we're talking about on that episode is we're kind of talking about the Caloosahatchee River and the lock systems, and people don't realize if a fish could live in brackish water, like tarpons could live in brackish water, any fish that could live in brackish water that actually might happen to swim from the saltwater side when they open the locks to where it's fresh on the other side, which enters into Okeechobee. There's been reported snook caught in the lake. Of course, I know for a fact on that tarpon because a good buddy of mine, his client actually caught it on a shiner, and they were actually I don't know if they're supposed to or not, but they were actually holding it up, taking some pictures before they released it, and that was right in the Harney Pond area.
Yeah. Okeechobee's home to a lot of manatees too.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
They
Yep.
thrive. Got to be careful. They mostly hang around the locks, so we're real slow at idling around the locks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Now,
I have a video out from I think it was about 9 years ago. I was practicing for a BFL tournament. And I was down near the Clewiston end of the lake, and there was actually a manatee that was within 5 foot of me and wouldn't leave. Just kind of swimming all around the boat, and it was the coolest thing. I actually had to stop fishing just to enjoy watching nature in progress. It was insane. It was awesome to see up
They
close,
like
personal.
they like to scratch themselves on your lower unit in your propeller.
Oh, really?
They really
that's,
do.
Yeah.
I've been fishing near the lock, and all of a sudden my boat bumps a little bit, and I go back there, and he's scraping up against the prop in the lower unit.
Oh,
wow.
wow. That's awesome.
You know what they love? If you take a bottle of fresh, bottled water, and you pour it over the side where he's at, he'll actually stick his head out and drink that. Love that.
Really?
Wow. That's
Bottle.
interesting.
That was the neatest thing. I never been that close. I've seen it on video stuff. I'd never been that up close and personal and actually seen one and how they kind of just what they done and how they just maneuvered and how impressive it was. It was just cool. It was cool to watch for the first time.
Uh-huh.
We got a question for both of y'all. It says, and we'll let this be the last question from the viewers, and then we'll ask our last question.
Okay.
It says, what would be the advice that you would give to a young angler that is trying to get into bass fishing?
You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Go early, stay late.
Go early, stay late. I would suggest that they visit some tackle stores, or maybe visit some tournaments and talk to people like us. I'll go out of my way. I'll sit for an hour and talk to a young kid after I weigh in, and it doesn't bother me at all. And he can ask me whatever questions he wants. A lot of people up around the Highlands County area are used to seeing me show up at kids tournaments, and I look at the kids' equipment, and I've given away thousands of dollars of rods and reels to kids and tackle to help the kids out. And
Right.
and I would say just time on the water.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of kids that will hit me on Facebook, and I ask them if they're ever going to be in my area, and they say yeah. And I've taken a parent and the child out and showed them some things. And matter of fact, I've had a lot of kids catch their first bass ever out of my boat.
There's an awful lot of bass clubs and opportunities to fish on the high school and college teams, and so all that needs to be really looked into.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than to get involved in a bass club. I
Right.
tell people all the time, get involved in a bass club, and maybe somebody will take you under their wing and really kind of help you out. And that's awful good. That's
Absolutely,
awful
absolutely.
So it's just pretty much just making yourself vulnerable for and available to and acceptable to whatever kind of teaching that you're getting
I guess
from.
the most important thing is not to be shy, ask questions, approach us. You know, a lot of kids think we're unapproachable, but I'll tell you, man, I love to have kids come up and say, "Hey, do you have a couple minutes?" And I'll be more than happy to talk with them. You know,
Exactly.
and I give them a lot of baits. You know, I'll say, "Hey, did you ever try this?" No. I say, "Hey, walk down to my boat. I'm going to give you some stuff to
Yeah.
try how to rig it." So,
That's
be open, ask people to help you out. Don't ever be bashful because, man, if either one of you come up and I'm on fish and I'm catching them real good in the tournament, I'm gonna lie to you, but I ain't gonna lie to that kid.
the truth comes out, Norman.
Oh yeah.
So, all right, Norman, we've had him on almost an hour and 10 minutes. So let's start wrapping this up and go on and let's ask our last question that we ask everybody, brother.
Yeah, this question we ask all of our guests that from almost from day one, but and actually Roland has been the answer to this question several
Quite a
times
bit.
since we started asking this question. But we're going to ask it to both of you, Gerry and Roland. If you were to have one person on your boat in the day for the day, and that person could be passed away already or still with us, who would that person be and why?
You want to go? You want me to go?
Go ahead.
I'll tell you, it's hard for me to narrow it down, but I'm going to give you three because I've really thought about this. One of them would be Ray Scott because all the times I fished with him, and he was a good old boy. He was a jokester like I was, so that'd be one. When I was growing up at 15 years old, my 15-year-old cousin, we were the same age, went to the same school. He got cancer and he passed away, and him and I used to fish all the time. And
Wow.
then probably the third one would be Nick Kaler, good friend of mine. I was in the same tournament, and he lost his life on
Yeah.
Lake Okeechobee.
Yes. Awesome,
And him
man.
lost together. So that I'd have to say three. I can't narrow it to one.
Right.
Who's the one you take?
Well, it's hard to bypass my son Scott.
No, it's somebody that's.
That's,
Okay. It doesn't have to be somebody that's passed away.
No,
No,
no, no, no, no, no.
they can
Okay,
be still with us.
it can be anybody.
okay, give me a minute. But like Gerry said, of course, I've done all sorts of eulogies for Ray Scott. In fact, I did the church eulogy.
You did, yeah.
For Ray Scott.
You did.
So yeah, he's a good one. But I don't know. There's some guys you've never heard of. There's a guy like Pat McAvoy in Atlanta, Georgia, that's just the best fisherman in the whole world, but he doesn't fish tournaments. He's just a wonderful fisherman. He's just a wonderful friend. And there's other guys I grew up with on Santee Cooper that I wish I could fish with. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Back and you get nostalgic and think about the Tommy McNay, the guy I caught my first 10 pounder when we did all these works to Santee, and then the hundreds of bass we caught in Maryland together. So guys like that,
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome, man.
So, guys, we want to thank y'all for coming on, and we had almost 1,700 viewers watching this during the hour and 10 minutes that we've had. Um,
Wow, that's cool. We really
so
appreciate you guys having us on, and I know some of the questions came from friends of mine like Shannon and John and Bottom Line Mike and stuff. And hey, thanks for all tuning in to us. We appreciate being on your show with you. I've been watching your show, and sometimes I comment, sometimes I just sit there. And I'm really looking forward to next week. I think it's Jimmy Houston next week, right?
Jimmy is next week.
Him edgewise. He's going to take over.
Well, the thing that I'm looking forward to, which Norman and I've been fortunate to be able to meet both of y'all. Well, we know Gerry, and to meet you, Roland, and to meet Jimmy and Bill. But I'm looking forward to trying to get Jimmy. I just want to hear Jimmy's laugh, because that's one laugh that you're at ICAST and you hear that laugh from the other side of the room, and you know that Jimmy is in the room. And so
He's
that
he's getting some pretty long hair on him too.
oh, he is.
People were making funny remarks because Hunter and I, Roland and Jimmy, we all stayed at the same hotel for ICAST. We ate our meals together and everything. What you need to realize about Jimmy is that he made a promise to God that he let his hair grow until his wife Chris was able to walk again.
Oh,
Right.
I didn't know that. That is awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what he did, and
But
that's why
he had trimmed a little bit.
a little bit, because he's starting to look like Rolling Stones or ZZ Top.
To learn how to walk her some. And I don't know that she's ever going to get over her paralysis, learning to deal with it. And,
Right.
yeah.
Right. But whenever you guys are down here, man, reach out to me. If I
Yeah.
can, I'll bring you out some of the places I know to fish if I have some availability. It's pretty tight, but I'll help you out the best I can. And I really
Awesome.
on here, and thank you to everybody who's watching tonight.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate it, guys. Good talking to y'all.
Nice talking to you. Have a good night.
You too. Tight lines, guys.
Lines.